Good morning, students. Okay, in our today's class, we are going to study about seed germination. Okay, so the word germination means when a seed just starts growing into a plant, it is called as germination. So when a seed starts growing into a plant, it is called as seed germination. It is germinating. Okay. So now, what all is needed for germination? For a seed to grow in a plant, what all do we need? So the trees in this forest all grew from seeds. The forest covers a large area because the fruits of the trees have been dispersed. So here in this picture you can see a forest. So this forest, each of the tree here is grown because of a seed. Okay, a seed grows into a plant. That plant grows into a bigger tree. Okay, so here each of the tree is grown from a seed. So the forest covers a large area. This forest is covering a very large area of land because the fruits of the trees have been dispersed. So if one tree grows, it bears fruits, and then the seeds from those fruits, they go and disperse the seeds to the other place, and then in that place a new tree grows. So in this way many trees grow and this becomes a forest. Once the seeds have been dispersed, they need to grow. When a seed starts to grow, it is called germination. So here it is written, when a seed starts to grow, it is called as germination. Not all seeds will grow because they need certain things to be able to germinate. So if a seed goes and it gets dispersed to some place, as I told you in the before class, that to germinate or for a seed to grow, it needs some things to grow. So all those, if it gets proper conditions for its growth, only then it will grow into a proper plant. Okay, so the seeds need certain things to be able to germinate. So we will see what are these things which a seed needs to germinate. So these people are talking about seed germination. Each one of it is saying what the seeds need for germination and what they do not need. So this lady is saying that seeds will germinate properly if you use that compost they sell in garden centers. So if you go to garden centers, they give some compost. Okay, and that compost means it is full of nutrients which are needed for a seed to grow. Okay, so if that compost is being given to the seeds, then those seeds will grow properly into a proper plant. They will germinate properly. Then this girl here is saying that I don't think seeds will grow if it is too cold. Okay, because seeds need warm climate for them to grow or germinate. Okay, so if it is too cold, then they cannot grow. My gran always plants seeds in the garden, so they must need light to germinate. Obviously, as we talked about it yesterday, that if a seed is growing, it needs light and water for growing. Okay, so this boy is saying that my gran always plants seeds in the garden, so they must need light to germinate. So for a seed to germinate, it needs light. Here it is said that it needs compost. Here it is said that it cannot grow in too cold, means it needs warm, and then it needs warmth. And here this boy is saying that the seeds need light to germinate. Then seeds will only germinate if they have water. So seeds also need water for germination, and I think seeds need soil to germinate. So seeds means this person is saying that I think. So these are all discussions which these boys and girls are doing. We will see in the next part what all is actually needed for a seed to germinate. Okay. Now, what do seeds need to germinate? When seeds are dispersed, some will end up in a place where they can't germinate and some will be eaten. This is why plants need to make so many fruits and seeds. So if suppose a plant bears only one fruit, and in that one fruit only one seed is there, and that seed, it goes somewhere, or it gets it doesn't go at a place where it can be grown. Okay, so then what has happened? That tree cannot be grown into a new plant, and so we cannot get a new plant from it. But to get a new plant, that is why the plants, what they do, they bear many fruits, right? We can see that a plant can bear many fruits at some time of the year. Okay, so they bear many fruits, and in each fruit there are many seeds. Okay, in some fruits there is only one or two seeds, but in many of the fruits we get many seeds. So why many seeds? Because even if some of the seeds get missed, or they go to some place, they get dispersed to some place where they cannot germinate, then the rest of the seeds which are left, they can at least go, they can be dispersed to some places where they can grow into new plants. Okay, now seeds only germinate when they have the things they need. So for a seed to germinate, there are certain conditions which it needs to have. Seeds that are buried in the ground over the winter will not germinate until it is warmer in the spring. So by this sentence we understand that seeds need warmth to germinate. That means it needs the climate, or the condition which is there around it has to be warm. It does not have to be cold. Okay, so the seed will not germinate until it is warmer in the spring. So in the spring season, the climate is warm, and only in that season then the seeds can germinate. In deserts, seeds will not germinate until it rains. Now in deserts we can see that sometimes it rains. So until it rains in the desert, the seeds won't germinate even if they go and get dispersed in a desert. Okay, they will stay there, but they will not germinate, they will not grow into a new plant, because they are not getting water for germination. Okay, seeds do not need light or soil to germinate. So here they are saying that seeds don't need light or soil to germinate. So here the discussion on the previous page, the discussion which was going on, we can say that these were just assumptions. Okay, from this part of the chapter we come to know what all is needed for a seed to germinate and what all is not needed. Okay, this we are talking only for germination. Okay, so for germination all these things are needed. For a plant to grow, when it becomes a plant, when a seed becomes a seedling, and then when it becomes a small plant, then a bigger plant, for that, when it starts growing, it needs soil, water, light, everything. Okay, so but for germination means to just start to grow in a new plant, the seeds do not need light. Okay, and it does not need soil also. So from this we come to know seeds need water, or we can say moisture for germination. They need warmth. Okay, the climate around them should be warm for them to germinate. And what things they do not need is they don't need light or soil to germinate. Okay, now these two pictures you can see the difference. Here this is a dry desert, and this the same desert after it rained. So here even if there were many seeds, they were not growing because they were not getting water. Okay, there was no moisture, it was all dry. Moisture means there is some water in the air present. Okay, so that moisture they were not getting rain, water. So that is why they were not growing, they were not germinating. But when it rained, they got water also, they got moisture also from this from the water which was drained in the soil, and from that the seeds have grown into small plants, which you can see. This has become greener. So it is the same desert after it has rained. So with this we have finished the reading part of the chapter. Now we will go to question and answers. Okay, so the first question is, the fifth question in this chapter is, what is germination? So growing of seed into a plant is called germination. So when a seed just starts growing into a new plant, that process is called as germination. And for this germination to happen, the seeds needs many different conditions, or it needs many different things such as water, moisture, then warmth, and then some things it is not needed. Even if it has it doesn't need. Yes. Now the next question is, name two things that are needed for germination and not needed for germination. So two things that are needed for germination means the seed means if it does not get these two things, it is not going to start growing. Okay, it is not going to start germinating and making a new plant. Okay, so the two main things which are needed for germination are warmth and moisture. It should have warmth, means the condition, the climate there has to be little hotter. Okay, and the next thing is moisture. Moisture means it needs to have some water also. Okay, water means not more water, but even if less water is there, even then the seed can start germinating. Then the next is not needed for germination. So these things are not needed for germination, but they are needed when a plant starts to grow. Okay, this is, we are talking only for seed germination. So what is not needed for seed germination? Light and soil is not necessary for seed germination. Even if they get light, that doesn't matter. Even if they get soil, it doesn't matter. What matters is only if they are getting warmth or moisture. If they are getting these two things, they can start germinating. Okay, but light and soil is needed for a plant. When a seed becomes a plant, that plant will need soil, waters, light and everything for it to grow. Now the next question is, seeds are sold in packets. Why don't they germinate in packets? So why we get packets of seeds, different seeds. We get packets of peas and all. So why do you think that they don't grow in the packets? Right. So the answer is, seeds do not germinate in packets because they do not get things that are needed for germination, such as warmth and moisture. Okay. We normally see that if we have the packets, if we buy the packets of peas and all from a shop, it is normally stored in a refrigerator. Why? Because in refrigerator the temperature is very cold and the seeds cannot germinate in them, and we don't want germinated peas, right? The germinated seeds we don't want. So they are stored in cold condition so that they don't germinate. Okay, so if the seeds are stored in packets, they do not germinate because they don't get the things that are needed for them for germination. And which things are needed? Warmth and moisture is needed for them to germinate, but they are not getting those two things. That is why they don't germinate when they are stored in packets. Okay, now the next is, why don't oak tree acorns germination in winter? So as I told you that for seed to germinate, it needs warmth. Okay, there should be, the climate around it should be warm. Okay, so in winter the climate is not warm. So where will the seed get warmth from, right? So if it doesn't get warmth, then it will not germinate. So oak trees, acorns need warmth and moisture to germinate, which they do not get in winter. So if the seeds are not getting some things which are needed for germination, they will not germinate. Only when the conditions becomes favorable for them to germinate, only then they will start germinating. Okay. So in this class, we have studied about seed germination. What is seed germination? Then what are the things needed for seed germination, and what are the things which are not necessary for seed germination? Okay. We will stop with this. We will meet in the next class. Goodbye, students.